You wake up. There is no alarm. There is no roof. There is only the cold press of dirt against your back and the sound of something moving in the dark nearby. Your heart is already racing before your mind catches up. This is not a nightmare. This is Tuesday. Now imagine that feeling is not a single morning. Imagine it is your entire life. Every single day, for as long as you can remember. That is what it meant to be born 100,000 years ago. Your brain today is almost identical to the brain of a human from that time. Same size, same wiring, same capacity for language, love, fear, and memory. Anthropologists call this behavioral modernity. And most researchers agree it was already well underway by 100,000 years ago. So the question is not whether you could survive that world. The question is what kind of person you would become inside it. You would not wake up in a bed. You would wake up curled against 3 or 4 other bodies, because sleeping alone meant dying alone. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy has spent decades studying early human child rearing, and her research suggests something surprising. Human infants back then were raised not by one mother, but by a whole network of caregivers, aunts, grandmothers, unrelated group members. This is called cooperative breeding, and almost no other great ape does it this way. Why does that matter to you? Because it means your instinct to trust a crowded room more than an empty one isn't random. It's ancient. Somewhere in you, 100,000 years is still whispering that alone means unsafe. Let's talk about your first meal of the day. There is no breakfast waiting for you. There is no refrigerator. There is a group of people already awake, already arguing quietly about which direction to walk. Food is not a given. It is a full-time job that never clocks out. You would spend hours each day foraging. Roots, insects, whatever fruit hasn't already been stripped by the group that passed through yesterday. And here's where it gets strange. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham, who studies the origins of human diet, argues that the discovery of cooking changed everything about the human body. Cooked food is easier to digest. It delivers more calories for less chewing. Wrangham's research suggests this single shift may have freed up the energy that allowed your brain to grow as large as it is now. Which means the fire crackling somewhere in your camp isn't just warmth. It is, in a very real sense, the reason you can read this sentence at all. Midday, the sun is high. You are walking. You are always walking. Most estimates suggest hunter-gatherers covered somewhere between 5 and 10 miles a day, not for exercise, but simply to survive. Your feet are calloused. Your body is lean, not because you are trying to be, but because there is no other option. Do you ever wonder why sitting still all day feels wrong somehow? Why your leg bounces under a desk? That restlessness has a name. Some researchers call it the mismatch, the gap between the environment your body expects and the environment you actually live in. Your body was built for this walk. It was not built for a chair. By afternoon, something happens that might surprise you. You are not hunting. Not today. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, groups like the Hadza in Tanzania, have found something counterintuitive. These communities often spend fewer hours working than people in agricultural or industrial societies. Anthropologist James Suzman has written extensively about this, describing how the popular image of prehistoric life as constant, desperate struggle may be exaggerated. You would have hours of unstructured time, time to talk, time to tell stories, time to sit with people and simply exist without a task attached to it. It's almost unsettling to imagine, isn't it? A life with more idle time than the one you're living right now. But do not mistake idle time for safety. Danger here is not abstract. It is not a headline you scroll past. It is a sound in the grass. Predators were a real and constant presence in the environments early humans occupied, and death from injury or infection was common in a world without antibiotics. A cut on your foot is not a minor inconvenience. It could be the beginning of the end. This is why your body still reacts the way it does. That jolt when a car swerves too close. That prickle on the back of your neck in an unfamiliar dark room. None of that is broken. It's inherited. It kept someone alive long enough to become one of your ancestors. As evening comes, the group gathers. This is, in many ways, the most important part of the day. Around a fire, stories are told. Not written down, not recorded, spoken, and passed from mouth to mouth, generation after generation. Some researchers who study oral tradition and prehistoric storytelling argue that these fireside narratives functioned as more than entertainment. They were survival manuals. Where the water is, which plants will kill you, who can be trusted and who cannot. You would not be scrolling through a feed of strangers' lives tonight. You would be looking directly into the faces of the 10 or 20 people your entire existence depends on. Every relationship would carry weight. There would be no anonymous crowd to disappear into. Just this. And this is where the story of who you were becomes the story of who you still are. Because that need to be looked at, to be known by name, to matter to a small group of people who would notice if you vanished, that did not disappear when humans built cities. It just went underground. Psychologists have long studied what's known as the need to belong. The idea that social connection isn't a preference, but something closer to a biological requirement, as fundamental as food or safety. That is why isolation feels less like inconvenience and more like danger, even now, even in a warm apartment with locked doors and a full pantry. Somewhere in you, the part built 100,000 years ago does not fully believe you are safe just because the walls are strong. It wants to know there are people. It wants to hear voices around the fire. Think about the last time you felt truly overwhelmed by choice. Too many options on a menu, too many shows to pick from, too many people to compare yourself to online. A human from 100,000 years ago never faced that particular kind of exhaustion. Their world was narrower, but in some ways, that narrowness was a kind of mercy. Fewer decisions, fewer strangers to measure yourself against, fewer ways to feel like you were failing at an invisible competition. You would not know what a stranger 3,000 miles away is doing right now. You would not know if you were falling behind some standard you never agreed to. Your entire measure of a good life would be simpler. Did you eat? Are the people you love nearby? Did the sun rise? And did you rise with it? There is a strange kind of freedom in that simplicity, even inside all that danger. So, would you survive? Born into that world instead of this one? Almost certainly. Because the body carrying you through it would be the same body carrying you through this sentence right now. The same lungs, the same instincts, the same need to be near others when the dark presses in. What would be different is not you. It would be everything around you, stripped down to its rawest form, with nothing standing between your choices and their consequences. And maybe that is the real reason this question lingers, not because you want to trade your bed for the dirt or your refrigerator for the hunt, but because somewhere underneath the walls and the screens and the schedules, that ancient version of you is still in there, still listening for footsteps in the grass, still counting the faces around the fire, still asking, quietly, whether you are safe and whether you belong. You wake up. There is an alarm. There is a roof. And somewhere underneath all of it, the same heart that once raced in the dark 100,000 years ago is still the one keeping you alive today.